Hi everyone, welcome to this webinar brought to you by Bursa Malaysia and managed by LifeChamp. My name is Atira and I will be the moderator for today's sessions. Our topic tonight is Waqf ETF Unveiled Investing with Purpose and Profit. The market is full of ETFs that follow index, sectors, and trends. It aims for both profit and purpose. It is inspired by the Wakaf tradition, where wealth is used to help the community for the long term. The ETF is not just about returns, but also about creating impact. So today, we are honored to have Mr. Ong Soon Chong, Executive Director and Head of ETF and ESG Investment at Eq8 Capital Sdn Bhd. He will share his insight on how this unique fund works and the role it can play in the modern investing. Before we proceed, allow me to make a short disclaimer. Please be reminded that everything that is shared in this session is mainly for educational purpose and by no way we are providing you advice to buy or sell any securities. You are 100% liable if you make an investment decision. Now, let me introduce our guest speaker today, Mr. Ong Soon Chong. He currently leads the exchange traded funds, ETF, and environmental, social, and governance (ESG) investment at Eq8 Capital Sdn Bhd. His extensive expertise cover the management of various local and regional funds, including ETF, ESG portfolios, equity mandates, and balance funds. Prior to joining Eq8, he served as a vice president of investment research at ValueCap Group in 2010 and was subsequently appointed as SVP portfolio manager in 2015. Mr. Ong holds a Bachelor of Accounting honor from Multimedia University. He is a fellow member of the Association of Chartered Certified Accountants (ACCA) and the Malaysian Institutes of Accountants (MIA). He also holds a Capital Market Service Representative license from the Securities Commission Malaysia for Fund Management. With that being said, let us warmly welcome Mr. Ong to the floor. Good day, Mr. Ong. How are you today? I hope you are doing well.
Hi, Atira. Good
Hi,
evening. Yes, I'm doing
Hi, good
well and good
evening.
to see you today.
Good to see you too, Mr. Ong. So we'll pass the slide to you, okay?
Sure. Yeah, thanks, Atira, for the introduction. And also a very
Welcome.
good evening to everyone. And thank you for joining us tonight for this session. So tonight I will be sharing with you something very unique in the investment world, which is the Waqf ETF. It is an investment opportunity that combines financial returns as well as the social impact. So let me share the screen first before I begin. All right, I assume you can see my slides by now. Yeah, just a quick introduction before I start about ourselves. We are from Eq8 Capital. This EQ8 we pronounce as Eq8, so we are from Eq8 Capital. It is an ETF arm of Kenanga Investors Group. We are specialized in delivering passive management investment solutions. Currently, we manage 5 Sharia-compliant ETF listed on Bursa Malaysia with a total AUM of 380 million as of July 2025. Now let's start with the basic. What is an ETF? I believe most Malaysian investors are familiar with unit trust funds and also stocks. But for ETF, they are still relatively new to many of us. So please allow me to jump into more details introduction about what is an ETF and how do we use it. An ETF is an open-ended investment fund that tracks a specific index and trades on an exchange like a stock. I believe not too easy to understand by just reading this description on the screen. Let me explain a little bit more. So since we know or and familiar about unit trust fund as well as shares, let us think about this. It is a hybrid of these two, of an unit trust fund and a share. You can imagine an ETF as an unit trust fund that can be traded like a stocks on the exchange. It has the characteristic of unit trust fund, whereby it is a basket of stocks. Inside there, it have many stocks, 10, 20, 30, depends on which ETF it is. And it is professionally managed by a fund manager, like a unit trust fund. And on the other hand, it acts like stocks, where you can buy and sell ETF anytime during the market hour. Here is a quick comparison of ETFs versus stocks as well as unit trust fund. ETF gives you a diversification like unit trust fund, whereby it is a basket of stocks and you can have in a single instruments, you can have a list of or baskets of stocks in your investment portfolios, but it is flexible enough to trade on the exchange and also is low cost as compared to the unit trust fund. One of the biggest difference between unit trust fund and ETF is that ETF is passively managed. What does it mean by passively managed? Passively managed means that the ETF, the funds will aim to track a specific index, just like, for example, tracks an index that have 25 largest stocks in the Sharia stocks in Malaysia or the top 50 stocks in the US or FBM KLCI. There are so many index in this world. So the objective of ETF is to track an index, as opposed to unit trust fund, which you all are familiar, that the fund manager of an ETF will buy and sell, look for stocks or look for a list of stocks that can give you more capital gain, and that is how what we call active manage. But for ETF, it is a passively managed fund. So therefore, it is suitable for investors who thinks that I want to have an exposure in Malaysia stocks without needing to think that which funds I will need to go into or which stocks I will need to go into to outperform the market. And the fees for ETF is generally lower, below 1%, typical below 1%, and much lower than 1% compared to 1.5 to 2% of unit trust fund. This is because unit trust fund, we need fund managers, we need analysts to do extensive analysis to get the good stocks to outperform the market. Whereas for the ETF, we try to track the broad market, therefore the cost can be low. So I'm not trying to say that unit trust fund is better or ETF is better. It really depends on the objective investment objective of each individual investors. Yeah. So whereas for stocks, it is very familiar by every one of you. It is a single stocks, so you need to study. You need to buy on the exchange, and this is similar to ETF. How do you invest in ETF? What you need to do is that you can open an account, a trading account with any broker, be it Kenanga, be it any other broker that can allow you to trade in the Bursa exchange, and you will be able to invest in the ETF. And another difference between the unit trust fund versus the ETF is that unit trust fund is sold by an agent and they only have price once a day, whereas for ETF you can trade during any time during the trading hours. So why should you consider investing in an ETF? Some of the benefits of investing in ETF is shown in the slides. First is the diversification. By investing in one single instrument, you can have exposure in a list of multiple stocks. So this gives you a diversification because in one single investment, you can have exposure and diversify into a long list of or a basket of stocks. And the second one is that, of course, the benefit is ease of trading, like what I have mentioned. It's very easy for you to invest ETF as long as you have an account, a broking account or a trading account that you can buy or sell shares. You can go to the exchange and buy ETF. It is the same. The settlement also T+2. It is exactly the same like how you trade stocks. And after you buy the ETF, unit will stay in your CDS account. It is exactly the same like the stock. And it is very affordable. As what I have mentioned, that it is very low cost. It costs you the management fee of putting the basket of stocks together for you in your portfolio. It costs you less than 1% a year, and more often than not, it is just around 0.5%, and it doesn't need to pay any sales charge or any other fees besides the brokerage fee that you pay to your broking account, to your brokers. Yeah. Last but not least is the ease of the access. So by a single instrument, you can have access to different type of asset class or market. We have ETF that you can have exposure in US. You have ETF that expose you to commodity, to US markets, to dividend stocks, to ASEAN and so on. Yeah. Let us take a quick look into Malaysia's ETF market. Currently, there are 13 ETFs listed in Bursa Malaysia, on Bursa Malaysia, and we have ETF that focus on Malaysia, that you can have exposure on Malaysia's 25 largest Sharia stocks. You have ETF that can give you exposure to dividend stocks in Malaysia. You have the ETF that give you exposure to FBM KLCI, leverage, or even inverse. On the foreign side, we have also ETF that focus on the foreign market. We have ETF that focus on US. We have ETF that can give you exposure in ASEAN, China, or even commodity gold. Yeah. Just to share with ladies and gentlemen, Malaysia ETF market is still small relative to the global market, but we are growing, and that is where innovations like what we wish to share today, the Waqf ETF comes in, because we are still small and we are here to grow to be a bigger market. Let us now talk about something truly special, the Waqf ETF. This is where investing meets the social impact. Eq8 Waqf ETF currently is the only and is the first Waqf ETF in the world, and is the only Waqf ETF listed on Bursa Malaysia as well as any other part of the world. So Eq8 Waqf, it was listed on the 10th of December 2024, last year, less than a year, and in making a history as the world's first Waqf ETF. The launch was supported by a lot of parties, including the regulators like Bursa Malaysia, SC Malaysia's, Waqf bodies, as well as Ministry of Religious Affairs of Malaysia as well. So it is actually a combination of efforts from a different party to make this a success. It is even came out in the headlines across the major newspapers, as you can see some of the newspaper cutting on our slides here. So what makes this Waqf ETF so unique? This is because it is a combination of two powerful elements, which are investment as well as Waqf. On the investment side of things, Waqf ETF is just like any other ETF. It is a Sharia ETF that invests in high dividend paying and Sharia compliant stocks in Malaysia. That means that you are getting exposure to all these good dividend paying companies, strong companies, which provides you with income as well as capital growth. And now the special part comes in, the Waqf features. This ETF is also provides you with a Waqf features whereby it is a charitable endowment concept in Islam. Waqf is it may not be I believe Waqf is something that is familiar by a lot of Muslim investors. Waqf is a charitable endowment concept in Islam. It means that you set aside a portion of your money or assets that is income generating so that this income can support the cost of charitable cause in the long run, meaning which I put aside of my assets and these assets can generate income and I use the income to fund the social impact social impact or for the social goods or charity activities. Yeah, so things like healthcare, education, or community development. And what is the beauty of Waqf is that Waqf is open to everyone. For both Muslim and non-Muslim can participate, can contribute, and can be benefited. This is really the beauty of Waqf features investment. So on the Waqf features side of things, the income generated from this investment or from this ETF will be distributed, and on the distributions, 50% of the income distribution will go back to the unit holder or the investors, while the remaining 50% will be allocated as a Waqf asset for charitable projects. Okay, this explains, I will explain a little bit more on how exactly this thing works in my upcoming slides. But in short, what I'm trying to share today is that your investment in this Waqf ETF does not just grow your wealth, but it actually creates a lasting impact for society as well. You do good while you invest. So how exactly it works? Let us look at this diagram. Allow me to guide you through of this diagram on how a Waqf ETF works. This is the mechanism. First of all, let me get my pointer. Okay, so as an investor, you invest in the Waqf ETF. For example, if you invest 1,000 ringgit in the Waqf ETF, so this ETF or a fund will be there, and as a fund manager for us from Eq8, we will use your investment. We will use the money that you invest to do investments to buy stocks, tracking the index to buy stocks and generate income. Okay, so when I generate income for the fund, I will do distribution. Say, for example, this fund that you invest 1,000 ringgit, this year we make 100 ringgit. Example, yeah. Example, I make 100 ringgit. So for the 100 ringgit that I make for the funds, I do a distribution. So for the distribution of the 100 ringgit, 50 ringgit will go back to the investors, which means that you will receive the 50 ringgit as a dividend for the money that you invest in the ETF. And another 50 ringgit, the remaining 50 ringgit will channel through a Waqf administrator. So it means that the 50 ringgit or the half of the distributions will go to a Waqf pool, whereby managed by a Waqf administrator, which is Yayasan Waqf Malaysia. So they will manage the Waqf the Waqf money and to disburse the money to Waqf projects in these four areas, namely healthcare, education, economic empowerment, and environment. So this is how it works. When you invest your money, we will manage the money and generate income, and the income half go back to you as a dividend, and another half will go to Wakaf and to contribute for charity, for charitable projects. So here is the more detailed structure of a Wakaf fund structure. So this can explain a little bit more detail of what I shared earlier. Let me take my pointer out. Okay, so Wakaf, this is the Wakaf fund structure. We have here at the center, this is the Waqf fund or the Waqf ETF. The Waqf ETF is managed by fund manager, which is from Eq8, and people like me as a fund manager, I will manage I will manage the fund, I will manage the money that you invest in the Waqf ETF. And of course, the assets is overseen by the trustee as well as the Sharia advisor. The Sharia advisor is here to make sure that everything that we invest in, everything that we do for the funds are Sharia compliant. And when we have an income distributions to the unit holder, half will go back to the investors, and the remaining half of the distributions will go to the will be handled by the Waqf administrator and managed by the joint committee, which is currently consists of the member from the Yayasan Waqf Malaysia as well as from Eq8. So this is to make sure transparencies on this pool of Waqf monies, that to make sure that it's dispersed to the Waqf projects that has been predetermined. So that's all that I try to share about the structure of the Waqf. So ladies and gentlemen, if you all have further question or want me to describe or to explain more about this, please feel free to type your questions in the chat box, and I will address your questions later. Let us now take a closer look at the investment side of the Eq8 Waqf ETF. For the ETF that we invest in, the investment strategy for the ETF is actually aimed to closely track the performance of the index. Like what I have shared earlier, that ETF tracks an index, right? So Waqf ETF track which index? Waqf ETF track this index called FTSE Bursa Malaysia Mass Sharia Factor Enhanced Target Dividend Index. Whoa, such a long name. But what does the index do, or what does the ETF that tracks the index do? Is essentially the investment strategy of this index is integrate two components into it. One is income focused strategy, whereby the funds look for high dividend paying companies that consists of that is Sharia compliance, that pay good dividend. And as you all know, dividend stocks is always good, solid, and also resilience when come to market downturn. When market downturn, a good dividend paying stocks is always more resilient compared to other stocks. But on the flip side of things, right? On the flip side of things, when markets goes up, dividend stocks often not really increase as much as other stocks as well. So in order to capture the upside, integrate the second component into the investment strategy of this index, which is the momentum factors. Momentum factors is a way for us to track a stocks that is exhibit a very strong performance trends during market upturn. It just simply means that it is a character or a factors of a stocks that can move up when market is up. So when I combine the two components or two investment strategies into a single one, what we will have is a list of stocks that give you good dividend, and when market is good, these are also the stocks that can go up. So therefore, in nutshell, this is what the investment strategy for this ETF and or the index is. Now let us look at the performance of the index or the ETF. So for your information, the ETF listed less than a year. It is listed December 2024, and until now it is less than a year. So therefore, we are unable to see a long-term performance of the ETF. However, we have the backtest performance of the index because the ETF tracks the index. So the performance of the index is actually the same as is always very close or the same as the ETF. So we have the benchmark index performance, which is longer history with a longer history of more than 5 years. So for us to have a better gauge or better view of it. Okay, so as you can see here, this is the index or this is the benchmark index. For dividend investing type of investment is always long term, so we don't look at short term. Year to date, it is down. This is because overall Malaysian market has been down. So if you look at beyond 1 year, if you look at 3 years, it has return of 33%, and 5 years of 21% or 0.6%, which is considered respectable as opposed to the broad market. If we try to compare the investment returns or the performance with the broad market, which is FBM Emas Sharia, we can see that 3 years is actually outperformed outperformed close to 20%, and for 5 years it outperformed even more, right? So these actually give us comfort of how this index do in long run. But disclaimer here, past performance is always not an indicator of a future performance because market conditions is forever changing, and what I share here is just a gauge or a feel of how this index perform in different type of time horizon, but it really doesn't mean that based on this past performance you can assure that in the future it will perform as good as the past performance. It could be better or it could be worse off, and for an investors, you need to do seek your advice from your financial advisor, or you need to do your own homework to study whether this meets your objective and whether this investment is suitable for you. So this is the top holdings of the ETF. As you can see, this is the top 10 holding. We have Bursa Malaysia, Time.com, Inari, Gamuda, Bank Islam Malaysia, and so on. As you can see, all these are very good, solid dividend paying companies, and all these companies are those companies that with good potential upside when markets go up. Yeah, so this is the top 10 holding. Ladies and gentlemen, that's all for me for today, that my sharing, and let me just do a very quick wrap up on what we have covered today. before we move to the next session, which is the Q&A. I am looking forward to Q&A session, question from the floors so that I can explain more on areas that you all wish to know more. Yeah. Waqf ETF, in summary, Waqf ETF is a unique investment product that combines financial growth with the social impact. It is designed for investors that want to do investment as well as want to do charity or contribute to charity, but they don't have time. Nowadays, more often than not, we have people who are very busy, no time. I have the heart to do good, but I don't have the time to contribute. I have the heart to do investments, but I have no time to study what stocks should I invest in and so on. So this will be the perfect product for you, or instrument that meets your criteria or meets your requirements, because this product give you an investment as well as help you with the contribution to the charity side of things. So with the Eq8 ETF, you get exposure to high dividend paying stocks that is Sharia compliant, and at the same time, 50% of the distribution from the investments will go to charity projects, Waqf projects such as healthcare or education. So this is how essentially a Waqf ETF works. And in short, it is an easy, transparent, and impactful way to grow your wealth while also to give back to the society. So I will stop here and I will pass the floor back to Atira and for the Q&A session. Thank you.
Okay, thank you, Mr. Ong. Okay, thank you, Mr. Ong, for your wonderful sharing with us. We will now proceed to the Q&A session. If you have any question, please type them in the Q&A box. Our speaker will address them accordingly. Okay, we will start for the first question. How ETF charge annual fee from the ETF holder, since they are buying and selling ETF through open markets anytime? People may hold an ETF for a long time and may hold it for a very short while only. That's
Okay.
the question.
Yes. So ETF, like what I have shared, that Waqf ETF is same ETF, that the characteristic of ETF is very similar to the unit trust fund. So the management fees will be deducted from the NAV of the funds on a daily basis. Like for example only, yeah, if this ETF charge a 0.5%, sorry, but this ETF actually charges 0.6%. So 0.6% of the management fees will be divided into 365 days, and every single day the management fee will be charged, which will be a very, very small portion from take out from the funds as a management fee. So for most of the investors, you won't even realize it because this is just too small for you to realize. Yeah.
Okay, for the next question is
Yes.
how often the Eq8 ETFs do rebalancing?
Okay. The Eq8 ETF will be rebalanced twice a year on a semi-annual basis.
Okay. What makes the structure of Waqf ETF different from a conventional ETF in terms of risk, return, and accountability?
Okay, so for the difference of risk and return and accountability, first of all, Waqf ETF is very unique by its own by its own type. Okay, it is combination of investment as well as the Waqf features. This is one big difference. So in terms of the risk and reward, it is actually it is actually not that different compared to compared to other ETF funds that invest in the dividends with the momentum component. But in Malaysia, the combination of dividend and momentum factors investment fund on ETF, and this is one and the only one. So it is different in the sense that uh, because of the because of it is investing in dividend stocks. So I will say that in terms of risk, it is lower compared to other pure equity funds because dividend funds is often more resilient during the downturn. And on the during market uptrend, when during the market uptrend, because of this ETF consists of the momentum factors components, so it can capture the upside. So therefore, this is how it differs in terms of the risk and return as compared to other pure equity ETF.
Okay, we move for the next question is during a market downturn, can Waqf ETF still generate both returns and social impact or will one side suffer?
Oh, okay. As what I have shared just now, the the constituents of the ETF, Waqf ETF, consists of a list of good dividend paying companies. Currently, there are 34 companies in the constituents. So these companies such as Bursa, Time.com, United Plantations, which is diversified across all different sectors, and they are solid and good companies, they will continue to pay dividends. And therefore, with the dividend payment, we will be able to do distributions to the unit holders despite market downturn.
Okay, for the next question is how does the fee structure of a Waqf ETF compare with a conventional ETF? And is the additional layer of charitable distribution increasing cost for investor?
Mm, not really, not really. So, as what I have shared earlier during my presentation, that the launch or the establishment of this Waqf ETF, we actually got a lot of support from different parties because of the charitable features or charitable elements of it. So we got a lot of supports actually. Like for example, the index providers. The index provider, we managed to talk to them, tell them that look, this is something that we do for charity cause, and therefore they managed to reduce the index fee for us. And also we got support from parties like Yayasan Wakaf to help us to promote this ETF without need to pay any cost. So along the way, actually, we have a lot of support from different parties, and that actually reduce our cost. And for the extra charitable side of things, it is not only not increasing our cost, but it's actually help us to save some costs because of all these supports.
Okay. Do you think Waqf ETF have a potential to become a mainstream asset class like Sukuk or REITs?
Mm, Of course, as an issuer, as a promoter for Waqf ETF, I wish to see it become mainstream. And of course, therefore, we want to have more promotional campaigns like the webinar today to share with the world, to share with the markets, what is Waqf ETF and ask for support, and to share these good things with more investors. Yeah. So of course, we are hopeful that this Waqf ETF will become a mainstream investment instrument. So just a sideline a little bit, Waqf asset or Waqf investment itself It's not something new in the market. In many other parts of the world, like Middle East and all that, it is quite a big asset class as asset classes by itself. So we hope that in Malaysia one day Waqf ETF can become we can grow big and become a mainstream investments as well.
Okay. Are Wakaf allocations taken from dividends only or also from capital gains?
Or it is combination of both. It will be
Mm.
payout from the capital gain as well as the dividend.
What percentage of income or profit is allocated to Wakaf and how is this determined?
Okay, so this is the in terms of the percentage of distribution. So allow me to just clarify a little bit here that the sum of money that the investors invest to buy the Waqf ETF itself will not be paid out. What is paid out is the distribution from the funds only. Yeah, so the distribution will be 50-50, will be 50% go back to the investors and the 50% go to the Waqf to support the Waqf projects. And how did we determine the 50-50%? It was a long deliberations. When we first come out with this idea, we discussed with many stakeholders. We have a survey to ask around what type of percentage will be good or acceptable for investors, retail investors, as well as institutional, on how much do you think it is reasonable or it is comfortable for us to contribute it to the what do you call to the charity, and in the end we set this 50-50. It's not no magic to it. It's just that we from our feedback we feel that this 50% is one of is something that is commonly accepted by most of the stakeholders.
How does Eq8 manage risk in the Wakaf ETF during market downturns?
Oh, okay. So we as I shared earlier, that this is a passive investment. So unlike the actively managed fund during downturn, the fund manager will think what stocks to buy, whether we want to hold more cash or whatever. But for an ETF, which purely tracks an index, during downturn, we will continue to stay invested into the constituents of the index to track the index. However, to manage the downside of the funds is already imputed in the design of the index itself. So during the design of the index, like what I have shared earlier, the investment strategy is to invest in a long list of stocks, which is currently have 34 stocks for diversifications and across different sectors, and as well as because of the characteristic of a high dividend paying stocks that is more resilient during the downturn. And this is how we manage the downturn or manage downside risk rather than we say during the downturn, but this is how we manage the downside of the investment.
Okay. When I check the Eq8 Wakaf chart, I notice low volume traded. Is it liquid if I invest here?
Okay. So liquidity for Waqf ETF currently are slightly lower, but we do have a party that is doing market making activities in the market. If you notice that if you go to although the last traded volume for the Waqf ETF in the market liquidity looks very low, But if you really look at the on the board on daily basis, you will realize that there are always quotes on the bid as well as on the offer side of the board. So meaning which if you want to sell or you want to buy anytime, you will see that there are willing buyer and willing seller on the market. Although the last traded volume doesn't look high at this juncture.
Okay. How liquid is the ETF on Bursa? Can I buy or sell easily without large price gaps?
Mm, as this question quite similar to the earlier questions on the liquidity side of things, that as I have shared, that if you want to buy or if you want to sell in the market, you can always you will be able to do so, because there are market making activities that is happening for the stocks, meaning which forever there will be I'm not sorry to use the word forever, but most of the time, in the market, you will be able to see uh, buying and selling quotes on both sides, and they are considerably close to the NAV price of the ETF.
Okay. Has Eq8 considered to cross-border Wakaf collaboration, such as example Asian Wakaf projects?
Yes. Definitely, we are very excited, and we are very ambitious in this area, and we wish to do more. We wish to have more collaborations to the regional and to other parts of the world. But let us just start from this is our first step, and the Waqf ETF is still less than a year, so this is our first step, and we definitely look forward to expand our Waqf solutions to expand it, when opportunity arise.
Okay. Any tax advantage like tax relief by investing into this Wakaf ETF?
Waqf ETF itself, okay, so this is slightly complicated in this sense, yeah. Okay, so for the portion of the Waqf side, okay, so because dividend, this is the first kind of itself. So so please, allow me to explain a little bit more detail in this. So normally when you receive a dividend from stocks or ETF, you do not need to generally the for retail investors, which their principal activities is not investing, you do not need to pay tax. Yeah. And at the same time, of course, you don't get any tax benefit from that as well. Okay, so for Waqf ETF, the distribution or the dividend, if you recall, 50% will go back to the investors, and another 50% is actually Waqf it up, right? Or we donate it out. So for the 50% of the donations, actually, you are able to get tax exemption, but it's not automatically that you will be able to get it. You will be required to go to the yayasan, the Waqf administrator, to ask for the statements and all that, so that you will be able to claim the tax benefit.
Okay. Are there plans to launch more thematic Wakaf ETF? Example like ESG focus or sector specific?
Like what similar to the earlier questions. Yeah, we always have plan. We are always ambitious about that, and always have the plan to expand, to do more. Yeah.
Okay. Are the beneficiary limited to Muslims or do they include the wider Malaysian community?
Oh, very, very good question. Thanks for this question. I just now I have roughly touched about this part, but I didn't. Thanks for the question so that I can go into more detail. Yes. So Wakaf is for everyone. Everybody, the whole society, regardless you are Muslim or non-Muslim, you can contribute, you can invest, and you can contribute to it. And the beneficiary as well, that the Wakaf project goes to healthcare, goes to education, which benefited um, all Malaysians. All societies is not only confined to Muslim. So this is really something that you can do good for the whole for the whole society.
Okay. Can ETF be used for regular saving plans? Example like DCA strategies?
Yes, yes, definitely, yes. So for ETF is a basket of stocks. ETF is a basket of stocks. Is a fund structure, and with the investment strategy of dividend paying, especially, it is something that is long term. So for long term investment, it is always good that you apply a regular saving kind of investment strategy, whereby you buy fixed fixed quantity uh, at fixed frequency. Like for example, I buy every month or I buy every quarter. A fixed amount regardless of the market movement. So in the long run, you will get the average of the broad market. So this is essentially one of the very common ways for investors to invest in the ETF.
Okay, for the next question is, can investor option out of the wakaf element if they only want a financial returns?
Oh, cannot. Yeah. So for this Wakaf ETF, right, the distribution part of the 50-50% is already fixed. So it means that if we have an investor say that, oh, I don't want to get the return, I want 100% to Wakaf out. Can I do so? Yes, for this Wakaf ETF, no, you can't do it. Of course, or at your own personal level, if you want to donate it out on the other cost, yes, of course you can do so. But if I on the flip side, if I want to choose, say, all the whole distribution, 100% of the distribution, I want to keep it, I don't want to work it out, can or not? The answer is also no, because it's already prefixed at the 50%. It's not optional. It's not for you to opt in or to opt out. It's unable for you to opt in or opt out. The 50% is already prefixed, and it is clearly stated in the prospectus of this ETF. So the short answer is no. We are not able to do so. Yeah.
Okay. Can non-Muslim invest in wakaf ETF? And what the value do they gain if they invest in this wakaf ETF?
Oh yes. Of course, yes. Like what I have shared earlier, Wakaf is for all. Of course, if we are it, you are Muslim or non-Muslim investors are welcome. Of course, based on just to share a little bit, based on our current investors list, we do have a big portion of non-Muslim investors as well. So that shows that within Malaysia's investment community, we have Muslim and non-Muslim that support, the cause of uh, this charitable wakaf contributions features. Wakaf features kind of investment actually attract all investors.
Okay. How often are the wakaf disbursement made? Is it annually, semi-annually, or quarterly?
Yeah, it will be the distribution of the wakaf is based on the prospectus. It is actually on the discretion of the fund manager. But however, we have planned to distribute on a yearly basis.
Okay. Is there any tax relief in Malaysia for investor who put money in the Waqf ETFs?
Oh, yeah, I believe I have shared earlier on on this part. The 50% of the Wakaf portion is will be able to will be able to, although it's not automatically can be done, but I need to contact the Wakaf administrators and so on. Yeah.
Uh,
Unfortunately, we
uh-huh.
are unable to do it automatically. So they are still part of work that the investors need to do on at their end.
Okay. Could Waqf ETF eventually be included in retirement funds like EPF or I invest platforms?
Mm, we are in talk to various party to put this thing to put Wakaf ETF in it, but there are certain we have currently is still unable to, but we have planned to do so. Also, is it is depending on a lot of other factors whether EPF have the mandate to accept funds that is mandatory wakaf out and so on. So this is something technical that something quite technical that we need to resolve to make this thing happen if possible.
Okay. Do dividends from ETF holdings get passed on to the investor or is reinvested?
Sorry, can you
Uh,
repeat the question again?
do dividends from ETF holdings get
Mm-mm.
passed on to investor or reinvested?
Oh, it will be dispersed in the form of cash, so it is not reinvested automatically. So for investors who wish to reinvest, they will need to receive the dividend money and to buy the ETF unit again. Yeah.
Okay. How much of the ETFs NAV is allocated to Wakaf annually?
Mm, okay. As I shared earlier, uh, the principle itself, the NAV itself, is not wakaf out. So the principle of the investments, the ETF money itself is not wakaf it out or is not dispersed out for wakaf for to support wakaf projects, but only the distribution. Yeah, so it's not taking out from the fund principle itself, but on the distribution that we declare.
Okay. Can Wakaf ETF be integrated into ESG or sustainable investment portfolios?
Very, very good question. Yes, it is. In fact, because this is a Sharia compliant investment, and as you all know that Sharia investment concept itself is highly aligned with the ESG investment is already eliminated, all those sin sectors, gaming and all that already. So it is highly aligned to ESG, to ESG for any Sharia investments per se. Yeah. So it is very much aligned in terms of concept. Yeah. Especially for this Wakaf ETF itself, this is because for Waqf ETF, the ETF itself have the features of Waqf, which is social impact investing. So it is already very ESG.
Okay. Next question is do I get updates or reports on how my Wakaf contributions are used?
Yes, there will be a report that they're published by the Waqf published by the Waqf what do you call by the Waqf administrator. Yes.
Okay. How does Equate ensure fair bid ask spread for retail investor with a small trade size?
Sorry again.
How does Equate ensure fair bid a spread for retail investor with small trade size.
Oh, okay. Regardless a big trade size or small trade size, on the Eq8 side, we do have we do if you look at the Waqf ETF trading board on daily basis, there are bid and ask, which is very close to the NAV, and to me, if you can get any in when you buy or sell, you are able to buy or sell very closely to the NAV, and that is considered fair or reasonable enough when come to ETF.
Okay. If I invest in a Wakaf ETF, how much of my profit goes to Wakaf?
50%.
50%. Okay.
On the distribution, yeah, on the distribution. Yeah.
Okay. What is the minimum lots to invest in a Wakaf ETF on Bursa Malaysia?
Sorry again.
What is the minimum lots to invest in Wakaf ETF on Bursa Malaysia?
Uh, minimum lot is 100. It is actually same as most of the stocks in the Bursa exchange, which is 100 units. Yeah.
Uh,
Wow, long list of questions. Thank you for the participant. Really exciting, to receive so many questions from the floor. Sorry, and
okay.
any more? Yeah, more than happy. Please, yeah, go ahead. Yeah.
May we know how much Wakaf ETF is listed on Bursa Malaysia?
How many Waqf ETF? One.
Uh,
Yeah. Because this is the first in the world, and also, of course, it's the only one in Malaysia as well.
okay. How do currency fluctuations impact the ETF given that some index constituents may have a foreign earnings exposure?
Wow. Okay. Um, on the FX side of things, because the ETF is very diversified in terms of the constituents. As I have shared earlier, that there are 34 stocks in the current list that is across different sectors, from construction to financial to plantations to consumer, uh, and therefore the impact for particular FX is not significant. It's not significant. So therefore, it is not a major risk per se that we can see here. We don't have we don't think that any particular pair of currencies are particularly impacted, as this is majority of the investments are still predominantly Malaysia based.
Okay, next question is, will investor receive a clear breakdown of which project and their portion of Wakaf has funded?
Sorry again.
Will investor receive a clear breakdowns of which project their portion of Wakaf has funded?
Uh, the Waqf administrator will prepare a report and publish it, so details will be outlined in the reports.
In the reports. From a portfolio construction perspective, does a Wakaf ETF behave differently in terms of volatility compared its benchmark for a ETF?
No, the Waqf ETF actually tracks the underlying index or benchmark index. So in terms of returns, it should be very similar to it. So for Waqf ETF volatility, um, versus index versus the ETF is something that we call tracking error. And as a fund manager, for the Waqf ETF or any other ETF per se under Equate, we closely monitor and our strategy is always to replicate it very closely, and therefore the differences will be very low. And as compared the volatility of Waqf ETF itself versus other ETFs, we believe the volatility is lower because of the constituents, which consists of very stable dividend paying companies.
Uh, do Wakaf allocations reduce the reinvestment impact of dividends, thus impacting a compounding returns?
Mm, yes and no. Yes and no. Okay, so it depends on how you look at it. Okay, so this ETF give you a distribution. Okay, so the distribution come in the form of cash. So if I am an investor, that each time when I receive the dividend, I reinvest it by buying, using the distribution money that I receive to reinvest. So I will enjoy the compounded return, right? So if I am someone who I receive the dividend and I don't reinvest it, instead, I spend it. Okay, so no matter whether, then that is regardless if the distribution, a portion of the distribution goes to the wakaf or not, wakaf out or not, it doesn't affect me because no matter how I don't reinvest, at my end, so therefore there's no impact to me on the compounded side of things. So whether distribution affects as a fund, whether distribution affects the compounded or not is really depends on the individual. But of course, anything that pay out will affect compounded return in long run. That is for sure. But it really depends on how an investor treat the distributions that they receive.
Okay. What is the advantage of an ETF tracking a custom index like FTSE enhanced dividends versus a plain benchmark like FBM KLCI?
Mm. It is quite different. It depends on the investment strategy of the particular ETF. So ETF, there are so many types of ETF in this world. So some of the ETF is designed to meet certain requirements. Like for example, we have in the Bursa Malaysia, we have ETF that tracks the very common index, FBM KLCI, that is meant for investors who wish to track or get the exposure to FBM KLCI. On the other hand, there are investors with other requirements. These requirements including uh, like for example, I want dividend, so I look for dividend ETF, or that I look for an ETF that tracks customized index, which is focused on dividend, or like for example, if I want uh, an investment or an exposure in an ETF that tracks, say for example, US US, which is top US companies. So I can go to the Eq8 US 50 stock ETF. So it is really depends on the investment objective and investment strategies that each individual investors are looking for.
Okay. Is there a risk that the wakaf portion could reduce the compounding over the long term?
Sorry again.
Is there a risk that the wakaf portion could reduce compounding over the long term?
Mm, these are uh, quite similar to the earlier questions. The compounded return whether will be affected is really depends on how you see it. Of course, any payout will that is not reinvested back will affect the compounded question the compounded return of any investments. Yeah.
Does investing in a Waqf ETF quality as part of sustainable or ESG investing?
Sorry again.
Does investing in a Waqf ETF
Mm.
quality as part of sustainable or ESG investing?
Oh, it is. I think quite similar. Yeah. As a Sharia ETF, it is already highly aligned to ESG, and also with the Wakaf features, uh, it is actually very ESG or social impact kind of investment already. Yeah.
Okay, the next one
Wow,
is
long list of questions.
yes. How sensitive are Waqf ETF returns to payout the ratios in high versus low yield environment?
Um, okay, so for rate, right? For rate, actually, okay. So high rates, high rates environment and low rates environment are different economic environment or conditions for overall investment and overall in investment conditions, not only for Waqf ETF, but for any other investment as well. So in general, when interest rates are low, uh, the risk the cost of the cost of capital is lower, so it tends to have market will tends to economy will tends to do better, and companies will tends to borrow more monies to invest more, and therefore in general terms, low rates environments are better for equity market. And for this Waqf ETF, it is actually an equity-based ETF. So therefore, we believe that in a low rate environment, it will be kind of better as well.
Okay. For the next question is, how do non-Muslim investors perceive the value proposition of Waqf ETF?
I think it is very positive. From what we see, we have a portion of non-Muslim investors as well in the ETF. I think how they perceive will be similar. We believe that Muslim, non-Muslim community in Malaysia, we have people very who are willing to contribute, to the society, contribute to the betterment of the country in the society. So therefore, we believe that will share the common. It is the shared common value, in whoever or investors that is, willing to participate in this social impact investing, whereby you invest and at the same time you do good as well.
Okay. With that being said, that is the end for our Q&A session for today webinar. So we would like to sincerely say thanks for Mr. Ong for taking the time to answer all the questions and share his knowledge. Thank you, Mr. Ong.
Thank you very much. Thanks all the participants for the questions, for your time, your your attention as well. And I really glad that have the opportunity to share this with all of you. and have a good evening. Thank you so much, Bursa Malaysia, for organizing this and having me tonight as well. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Mr. Oi. So for the